Welcome back, everyone.
Woo!
We got Alan in a Melvin shirt. Nice.
Yes.
If you need a stump grinded, that almost sounded dirty.
You said stump grinded. Do
Grinded.
any of us speak English
That's
today?
right. If you want a stump grinded.
Ground.
Ground.
Yeah, it's ground.
All right. Either way,
Turned
call
into
Bob.
chips. Bob's turned
And not
stumps
potato
into
chips either. Will you do potato chips or just wood
I can.
chips? Okay. All right. Excellent. I'm your host, Andrew. We're going to get right into this one. Kind of grinding stumps, Western, Buck Owens.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey,
we
just
go.
trying to tie that together there.
Very good. Well
Nice-
done. On the
nice
fly.
intro.
even.
See,
Wow.
you like that?
See?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing Buck Owens. I've got a Tiger by the Tail from 1965. This was an interesting, very interesting CD or what do you want to call it, album? But
Yeah,
Bob
ooh.
brought this to our attention, so I'll let him start it off.
wow. I've been so excited to share this. Because let me tell you a little story.
About a man named Jay.
Poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. Now, actually, that kind of fits into what Buck Owens went through in his early life. But I'm starting with what I went through in my early life. When this album came out, 1965, I was a 12-year-old. Now, think of what you were doing, what you were exposed to as far as music or, just how you lived, running up and down the street, being feral kids,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. You missed that conversation the other
Yeah,
night.
you
when
should've
you left, you
heard
should have
that.
went to eat with us. We're talking about being feral kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, Bob.
So we all were in a different place at 12 years old.
Yes.
Well, my father he was running a gas station,
You're
and
going to say he was running a gambling ring.
At the nunnery.
stay with me, boys, stay with me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay. A gas station and a farm operation, along with my uncle. They did it together, and for whatever reason, they decided to go to the furniture store and buy a console stereo for each one of them.
Yes. I remember those.
And for
dude.
those of you that don't know what that is, it's a piece of furniture that's got speakers in each end, and the main component is a turntable
Yes.
or a record player, as
Yep.
we called it,
Yep.
in the middle.
And it can cause stitches if you hit your head on it.
That's
Oh,
right.
man.
Sharp edges back in the 60s and 70s
Yeah.
on everything. In fact, they just might as well just put knives on the edge.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're always, kids, you're tussling in the living room, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, stitches. My uncle got one. They were both Zenith. They were identical.
Yep.
And my father got one. So
Ours had the red velour behind the wood inlays.
I had one of those myself at one point later. But so Dad gets this stereo, and of course you've got to have albums because it did not have an 8-track player in it. It did have, I think it was AM, FM. It may have only been AM.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in 65 stereo had come along.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
obviously,
a
it was a stereo.
Hey-o.
Okay.
Hence the name, Bob.
Yes, so it was an AM, FM, radio, and a turntable.
Yes.
Is it in Doubly? That's a Spinal Tap reference.
Yes, I
and
love
he goes,
Yeah.
in
They're making-
Dolby?
They're making a new Spinal Tap movie.
Oh, man, that's going to
They're
be
coming
great.
back. So I'm fascinated with this because
So
that's coming back. Have you seen that on Instagram? Turntables.
I hope so.
They are.
I hope so. I had one until not too long ago. I gave it away.
What?
I'm not kidding.
He probably sold it for like $500.
No.
200?
One of the neighbors wanted it, and I let it go. But along with this stereo, you had to have records.
That's right. Yeah.
And the old Victrola records that were the 78 speed. Well, they wouldn't work on this thing. It had a 78, but you didn't want to listen to 78. You could have done that on a Victrola.
That's low tech right there.
Yeah.
With the big horn on it.
Yeah, and the dog.
Yes, I love it.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
that was RCA, but I know what you're talking
Okay.
about. Yeah.
So
Damn, we're old.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I mean, I remember the pictures. I wasn't there.
Liar.
Yeah, you came along a little later.
Yeah.
After he got this stereo, he got this Buck Owens, and I think my siblings will correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I think he got it for Christmas. It was a Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. I've got a Tiger by the Tail. Before we got that stereo, all we listened to was AM radio.
Yeah.
We didn't even listen to stereo because we didn't know what that was. It wasn't in the car, it wasn't on the little transistor radio that
I heard
we
they
listened
burned some people at the stake for listening to it back
to. I'm telling you.
Sorry. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, FM was high tech, man.
But no, it's funny because I can remember my dad listened to a lot of AM, and when he would switch over to the FM, it's just like leaps and bounds different. I'm like, why would anybody want to listen to AM?
Yeah.
So go ahead, Bob.
Well, good point. Some things are recorded specifically for AM, as far as EQs and that kind
He's
of
like,
stuff. Yeah.
thought he just ate a cookie or something.
That was a tasty morsel he just gave us.
Ooh, good one.
I figured I should let you know that kind of thing. So anyway, Dad gets this Buckaroos album for Christmas. So you know what we're listening to now.
Okay.
We're listening to Buck Owens and his Buckaroos.
Yeah.
And I don't remember specifically, but I expect it was over and over and over.
Yeah.
Because that was the new thing in the house, and it was the new sound.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, you always do that. You get a new CD, you get a new cassette.
You wear it
goes
out.
in your truck and just going back and around.
Yeah.
absolutely.
You just wear the crap out of it.
So I didn't have any musical inclination at that point, other than I had already been playing the trumpet for a year, which that was really coming along well.
And if you stuck with it, you could have been in Cake.
I know.
Yes.
No, I could never be that good.
We need to start a band called Pie. And
There was
And have a tuba player.
no, you're going to be our.
You can have a clarinet.
Oh,
All right,
man.
all right, so dime store Cake then. We won't be as good as Cake, but you can play the trumpet.
I'll play a bugle.
Just whenever the hell you decide to come in on the song and do whatever melody you want over whatever we're doing. That's what I love. That band is brilliant.
I still love that one. If you haven't watched the Cake episode, do that before we go any further.
That band is brilliant.
Yeah. they're
Absolutely
really good.
brilliant.
A lot of fun. Okay, so anyway, back to the story.
Yeah.
I think that Christmas I got a Danny O'Day ventriloquist style. They pull a string in the back of his neck and his mouth goes, you know.
Like
Aren't those
Andrew.
possessed?
Yeah. So
I don't like those things.
I try.
You get it blessed first.
Yeah.
So I'm
Don't
trying.
let this doll come alive in the middle of the night. Thank you, Lord.
So I'm trying to learn to be a ventriloquist. I've got a tiger by the tail. I've got.
He gave up the trumpet to be a ventriloquist.
It didn't work.
Dad, I'm giving up the trumpet. I want to be a ventriloquist.
He says, I saw your mouth move. So anyway, that's where I was when this album came into my life. And obviously it was my father's, it was one of his favorites. And
So we have to be gentle.
Oh.
no, you don't have to be gentle because what I'm
it's
doing
not my
is
fault what his father likes.
it's setting the stage to look back at where we were when we listened to this or whatever
The way
music.
we were.
Yeah, the way we were.
Wasn't that
Barbara,
nice?
Yes.
yeah, Barbara, what's
Please
her
don't
Barbara
hate her.
Streisand, my favorite. Born Free. What was she? What movie was she in?
I wish.
Born to Be
Exorcist?
Wild?
What, she,
Born to be wild.
It was. I can't remember. Born something. Anyway, Born Rich.
hate her.
A little bit of Buck Owens' history.
Okay.
He was born in 1929 in Sherman, Texas. I'm going to read my notes. His mother, here's was his musical experience. His mother was a piano player.
He's reading it. You don't have to read it. He's reading it to us.
Here, let me just do this, and that way they won't know what
I'm
we're doing.
amazed at how.
Well, we'll just sit here while you read it.
Look at that handwriting.
That's not handwriting. That's.
I don't have.
I was
he
doing
can
this
read
while
it.
I was grinding stumps, man. I was just trying to save time. No,
He does it with his left hand and then drives the truck.
His mother was a piano player at church.
What'd you call me?
His mother?
Did you see that took him a second here?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I think I stumped the bob.
Whoa, we're on it today.
Oh, man.
You need to pick out more albums that we don't
Bob
like.
the Bob Sweats. That's what we'll call all of my albums.
Yes.
The Bob Sweats. Because,
I'm getting the Bob Sweats right now.
yeah, well.
It's probably that coffee.
The Vietnamese.
Good job. We should have a little ding when he says it right.
Every time.
It can happen.
Yeah.
It can
Can
happen.
you make that happen?
I can make
you
that
know
happen.
people?
I know people. The Dingers.
That's Andrew's band.
I like the Andrew and the Dingers.
Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, his father played the harmonica, and two of his uncles played guitar.
Okay.
He talks about being cold and hungry in his early life. They were a very poor family, and his father was a sharecropper, which means he would, work for somebody else, on a piece of property that
You
he
get
would live
ripped
on.
off.
Yeah, in a lot of cases. So they stayed together as a family, but when the Great Depression hit, they started heading for California.
Mm-hmm.
They got as far as Mesa, Arizona, before the car broke down. They were pulling a trailer with like a
Everything.
Ford car.
Yeah.
And and all their stuff. So they broke down and they said, well, let's live here. So they went and lived in a migrant labor camp,
Okay.
and they would go out and work whatever, vegetables, fields, or fruit. Peaches. They'd pick peaches and pick cotton, whatever, to make enough money to eat and live, and pay the rent. So at night, these farmers, all these people that lived here that were working for, bigger farms, whatever, just to survive, they had to have an outlet. So 4 or 5 of the houses had people that played music.
Okay.
So they kind of come together in front of somebody's house, or several of them, and play in the evening.
That is very cool.
So
I like
Buck Owens, being a kid, he was working in the fields along with his parents, but at night he was just a sponge. He was soaking up what he was hearing, which was blues and folk and
Who knows
country
with all
and
that
country,
migrant,
yeah.
with the various cultures that he was interacting with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was just trying to learn whatever he could. He was watching what they were doing. And he was 13 years old. His parents bought him a mandolin first, and then bought him a guitar.
My wife can attest that's one instrument I cannot stand.
What, a
I
mandolin?
hate the mandolin.
You've never heard it played right.
I have. I've heard it
You're very
so many
opinionated.
times, and I don't like it.
Okay, but
It's not the instrument. It's not the instrument. It's just something about the way sometimes people actually physically play it to my eye annoys me.
Oh, so it's not the sound
It's
of
not
the
necessarily
instrument,
the sound. It's just something the way.
they play it.
Yeah, sometimes
Okay.
people play it just kind of.
So if it was a Hooters girl playing it, you would
It'd be
like
fantastic.
it. Okay, I got you.
Back to the labor camp here.
Because we're 40 minutes into this
Are
episode.
we? Wow, as time goes by when you're having fun. Okay,
Are we really?
No, we're
No.
like 22
so
minutes.
so he quit school. Buck Owens quit school, and that's not really his name. He named himself Buck when he was 4 years old after the family mule. So,
Okay, that's
just-
I mean,
kinda
that's
Just
somebody to
let it-
look up to, the family mule.
cool. He's mad at you because you won't shut up and let him tell his freaking story. Dang, Andrew.
I know. Come on, Bob. Give me
I
your
had a
story.
mandolin one
But
time.
look, I got to tell you, that's fascinating that what you're saying there. Because it is tuned differently, you had to figure things out differently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then he got some not instruction, but some advice from people in the labor camp that were playing. Well, here's how you do this, and here's how it's tuned. So he was able to get a leg up, and he
But
started.
they're teaching him all that. Why don't they give him some damn strings?
It was the Depression.
It was the Depression. Yeah, they only had 2 strings on their guitars.
That's the only 2 strings that were in the world.
In the whole world.
Drop D. You don't want to tune it up. Drop it. He went on to take every gig he could scare up.
Well,
and it was schools. It was schools, and when he was 16, he was allowed to go in honky tonks, and that really got his attention. Anyway, Bakersfield was the hot place. Nashville at that time, from what I understand, was looking for the soft country.
Yeah, almost crooner kind of stuff. Yeah.
And Bakersfield was
like Boxcar Willie.
No, it wasn't even that kind of stuff. It was almost like Marty Robbins style stuff. You know, the way he crooned. I know Marty Robbins came later, but it was that crooner type thing.
That's what they were looking for in Nashville. And Bakersfield was more the raw, honky tonk sound.
And you can hear it in this album. There are certain songs like Memphis.
Yeah,
it's a honky tonk song. It's a rock song.
Yeah,
yeah.
And one thing he never did was sell out and do something he didn't want to do. His first couple of singles, they wanted him to put doo-wops and stuff like that in there, and he did it. And they were both miserable flops. He made up his mind then, never was he going to do something that he didn't want to do again.
Yeah, there you go.
When it came to the music. And he didn't.
Well, he was extremely successful in his career.
He was. Yeah. He was. So let's go on to page 2. Okay?
And he shortened that page.
Yeah.
He condensed it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's move right along.
So what size shoe did he have?
Do Ellen and I get to talk in this episode?
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's thinking, hell, he won't shut up. That's why it keeps going up. So.
I want to bring it to the point where he met Don Rich.
Okay. All right.
Because that...
Fast forward.
Yeah. He's not 16 at this point.
No, he's not 16.
He's 16 and a half.
He's not even married to that woman anymore.
Yeah. And this is when he was wearing a size 10.
Yeah. Well, and Don Rich was 16 years old when they met.
Really?
And he was a fiddle player, did not play the guitar.
What?
I'm not kidding you.
No, for real, because I've never known Don Rich to do anything but guitar.
Buck Owens was in the studio with Loretta Lynn, who I'm sure you're a fan of. And
I like Loretta Lynn, actually.
Well, good. Coal miner's daughter.
Oh, you do? Oh, God. I really do like her.
I hate Loretta Lynn.
Oh, I don't.
I like her.
It's because of negative memories attached to her song.
You can't blame her for that.
No. But that was the background.
Although I say that, and I feel that same way about Steve Miller.
Yeah.
I can't stand him, but it's only because
I like Steve Miller, too. Yeah.
Every situation I hear him in just, like,
brings back the bad stuff.
Well, you know, Steve Miller's godfather was Les Paul.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Is he still around?
Steve Miller,
yeah. I saw a thing the other day that he was doing something like in Atlanta or something.
I saw something where he died.
What?
No.
Or heard something or dreamed something. Dreamed it. That's what
maybe it was the Steve Miller tribute band.
It may have been.
I'm going to look this.
Don Rich.
Yeah.
I feel like Don Rich is what put the icing on the cake for Buck Owens and his style, because he met this guy when they were recording. I think they were actually recording for Loretta and Lynn. They were in the studio. So he meets Don Rich as a fiddle player.
Yeah.
And whoever he was in cahoots with at the time said, I've hired, I think it was Dusty Rhodes.
The wrestler?
No.
So I was thinking,
this is getting better.
Yes, now we're getting somewhere.
I'm going to get it all mixed up, okay?
Okay, so anyway.
You guys are really getting me off track
so
here.
Don Rich and Dusty Rhodes.
Don Rickles.
Well, it wasn't even, I don't think it was Dusty. I think it could have been Richard.
Richard Rose?
Richard Rhodes.
Richard Rhodes?
Richard. Yeah.
That's Dusty's brother.
We'll call him that.
Dusty.
Richard Rhodes. Anyway, he said, I've hired Don Rich to come play fiddle for you.
Okay.
And he said, fiddle player? Well, okay. So you went and spent $20 without asking me?
Right. That was big money back in the day.
So anyway, once they connected, they were a unit. And you got to admit, when you listen to the songs, the harmony is kind of the movement of the harmony along with the melody is perfect. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have all the technological help that they've got nowadays in recording. So he had to be spot on. And I watched a video of him, and the movement, I mean, you can tell they're in sync completely. But that's what really took Buck Owens over the top as far as that time period, that style of music. It brought him into the 17th century. So,
okay.
Page, and now page 3. Paul Harvey reference, if anybody knows.
So in
love Paul Harvey back in the day, man.
And now for the rest of the story.
Yeah. Please, Lord.
Okay, now in 1962.
We're like what are we, 50 minutes into this?
I know you're waiting for this. In 1962, he hired the rest of the band.
Yeah.
Is this when he was 17?
He had toured. No, well, it's actually when Don Rich was 17, I think. But the two of them had toured the country. They stopped at every radio station that they came to or that they could find, and he would go in.
6 of them back then.
Well, actually, he had a list a little longer than that.
10.
But I think it was 12. They went in and they'd get interviewed.
Yeah.
And then he would write letters.
You can't do that today. You can't. Not today, man.
No, you can't. Mm-mm. It wouldn't matter if you showed up. You wouldn't be able to get to the people you need to.
But, I can remember seeing an interview with Bon Jovi, and he said that's what they did. He goes, we literally, and I've heard other bands say, we literally went and gave a CD to the guy that we knew at
the local radio
And
station.
that's what Loretta Lynn did as well. Her husband put all that together.
Alan doesn't care. He hates her.
I know. He hates her. Hater.
He is.
Hater tater. Okay, anyway. He hired the rest of the band. And the bass player for him at that point, you'll never guess who it was.
Les Claypool.
Oh, wouldn't that have been something?
That's close. That's close.
Clay Johnson.
Dusty Hill. Dusty Rhodes.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
No, you're thinking of Robert Johnson.
Oh, that's the next episode.
Okay.
I got you.
No, it was Merle Haggard.
Well, okay. Now that's interesting because he was the second part of the whole Bakersfield sound that changed that whole
raw and
philosophy of country music.
Yeah, they were outlaws.
So look, I'll say this: whether or not I like the Bakersfield sound, I love any kind of movement where people go, "No, we're going to do it our way. We're going to do it our way. If you like it, great. If you don't, we're true to ourselves."
Yep.
And that's what I can boil this down to. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm. Long story short.
Well, I'm not even going to say that.
4.
And now, page 4.
Not going to say that.
Come on, man.
Well, he went through so many phases.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you probably watched Hee Haw, didn't you?
That's where I was first introduced to him. Loved him on Hee Haw, man. I did. I loved that whole interaction that he had with Roy Clark and everybody else on there. It was cool.
But he got
my wife when she was 5 or 6 had Hee Haw coveralls. Those are her favorite pants. She still talks about those.
Really?
I thought you were gonna say she still wears them.
If she could find them, she would.
Awesome.
I've seen pictures of them. They have little Hee Haw patches.
Nice. Very cool.
Sidebar.
I like your wife.
She's cool.
She's on my side.
We went bowling the other day, and I told her I was going to beat her with her bowling ball.
Yeah.
She's scary when she's like, "Do it!" She's all up in my grill. Come on.
No, but
she's feisty.
Yes,
Merle came up with the name Buckaroos. That's the highlight of that.
Merle did?
Yeah.
That's what that boils down to.
And he wasn't with them very long.
Because he struck out on his own and got huge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason Buck Owens quit, not quit. He still was making albums and stuff, but he agreed to do Hee Haw. CBS contacted him and wanted him. It was a pilot.
Yeah.
So they offered him $400,000 for the first year,
which
he said boiled down to $22,000 per episode.
You don't think that's considered selling out in the beginning? You said he never sold out.
Well, hang on though.
But
did you ever watch Hee Haw? I mean, it was
I'm just
always
asking.
in his
I'm
wheelhouse.
throwing up the question.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Good point.
I don't
no,
think so,
I did say that, and I don't think he sold out either.
No, because
All right, I'm just
it was
asking.
true. What he was doing was true to his sound.
But a lot of people looked at him as a well-respected outlaw, and then a country bumpkin.
Yeah.
Because he wore his overalls backwards and all that.
Right,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, look at what he like. It meant those moments where he was doing the duets with Roy Clark and whomever else was a guest on there.
And Don Rich was still alive at that point.
That's
so
right.
They were on there.
So
well.
I wouldn't say it was selling out at all.
No, and he said, I weighed the options and determined that $400,000, and I don't have to go anywhere or set up any equipment or go in any, wherever.
Yeah.
Or sleep in motels. I can just stay home and go, 2 weeks now and then and film.
Well,
And
I know how he feels. I mean, I turned down a bigger podcast traveling all over the world to be with you guys.
Wow.
Because it's home.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I
But that 400,000, it ain't happening.
Yeah. That's okay. Your wife made me a cupcake the other night. So.
How was it? I meant to ask.
Look, it was amazing. So Ethan comes in today, and there was still half a cupcake there, right? So you saw it, didn't you? It was a cake in a cup, right?
Yep.
So Ethan came in today and goes, "You still got some of that cupcake?" And I had about half, and I was like, "Yeah." He started just tearing it up. And he was like,
spoon,
he was like, "Man," he did. He got one of those big spoons. He was like, "Marilyn's such a good cook."
She knows her cakes. All right, so one other very interesting thing I found was that in 1971,
Yes.
he made a deal with Capitol Records before he renewed his contract,
Yeah.
and that was ownership of all of his recordings at the end of the contract.
Which, for
that
the time,
was huge.
yeah, for the time, that was probably unheard of or very rare at the time. Yeah.
And nobody was instructing him that he should do that. He just said, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
They end up with all your songs, ownership of them, on into forever.
It's like Steve Vai. You and I looked at that. He goes, no. He goes, I make the bulk of the money. I'm the artist.
Yep.
I make the bulk
And
of the money.
he's the record company,
That's
too.
right. Yeah, he figured it out, man.
So, old Buck, he lost Don to a motorcycle wreck in 74. It knocked him for a loop. He was out of it for a long time, and then later he was coaxed back into the spotlight by Dwight Yoakam, which I'm sure you guys like.
Okay. I am a big Dwight Yoakam fan.
No, you're not.
I am, brother.
Movies or music?
Both. Every now and then, I'll tell you how I became a Dwight Yoakam fan.
Is this going to be a shorter story than Bob's?
I promised to keep it under 7 pages.
Okay. Here, you want something to write on?
No, I got it.
I'll write it down.
So, all right, please do.
I brought my pencil. Give me something to write on, man.
So it was in the 90s, and I was traveling, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was out in the middle of nowhere, and the only radio station I could pick up was this country station. I was like, crap, I hate country music, right? And they play Dwight Yoakam's version of, what is it? I'm caught in a trap. I can't walk out. That Elvis song. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And then, so the very next day, I go and I get a CD and I listen to it. There's some killer stuff going on with Dwight Yoakam.
I think he's a good musician.
Yeah. Yeah. Look,
I don't know.
He was laying down some stuff, man. I'm telling you, I'm a Dwight Yoakam fan. And he kind of did the same thing. He says,
Yep.
This is how I'm going to do it. You're either on board or you're not.
And he talked to Buck about doing the song Bakersfield, that Buck had written, and they did it together, and it was a number one for both of them. So
good.
Anyway, then he went on to spend $77 million and built the Crystal Palace in Bakersfield.
Yep.
And that's where they had a restaurant, a museum, and a dance floor, and he would sing if he wanted to, or have somebody else in, and he knew people by name and rubbed elbows with them, and that's basically where he ended up. He died in 2006. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to say?
Well, thanks for watching.
Okay. I just wanted to cover him because I used to think he's just a dumb guy. I remember thinking he can't sing. It's just, it grated on my nerves at one point in my history.
And still did mine. As I was listening to these songs, some of them have been redone with a little bit, instrumentally, these songs are awesome. If you listen to it, there's all kinds of cool stuff going on. It's just singing for me. His singing for me, I've got a tiger by the tail. It's plain to see. I'm like, oh my God.
I like how you did that.
And I'm all about, using inflection and stuff, but in the same song, he would say one word like wine, very pronounced, and then the next one he'd slur something, and it was just grated on my nerves.
but you know what? You gotta let him have his due, because that's who he is.
Yeah, no, and I get it.
That's just how he sings.
And I can appreciate that, but as you were saying that, some of these songs got stuck in my head, and I wanted to get a hammer and get them out of my head.
Yeah.
But I literally at one point thought these would be amazing songs if they were sung by somebody else.
Well, yeah.
So I can see you and Marilyn singing them, and I would be a fan.
That's funny.
Can I play guitar on them?
Would you?
Yes.
You got to play just like Don Rich.
Dead Don Rich or the alive Don Rich? I think I could nail the dead Don Rich. That was dark.
It's a very steel guitar heavy album.
Yeah, and I like that. I used to hate steel guitar. Now I appreciate steel guitar.
You still hate steel guitar, don't you?
No, I like steel. Have you ever heard Robert Randolph and the
Family
Band?
My gosh.
No, I've seen
Rudolph the Red-Nosed We're getting ready to rock your freaking world on one of these albums. Yes.
What's his name? Richard Randolph?
Robert Randolph. All right, I'll put it to you this way. I don't know how you came about him, but Eric Clapton puts on these shows occasionally, the Crossroads festivals, okay?
Yeah.
If you're an amazing guitar player, you get an invite. He's a steel player, and he got an invite. Yeah. He's amazing. He's amazing. All right.
Robert Randolph. And what was the rest of it?
In the Family
In the Family Man. Yeah. Yes. He's so good. And he's a cool dude. When you see him interviewed, he's humble. He's just like, man, I can't believe I'm hanging out with all these cats.
No, I won't bore you with going through all of the songs.
I was just wondering, could I say my piece about this album, maybe?
Go right ahead.
Keep it clean, buddy. Keep it clean.
It's literally not even a page. I hate it. This to me, there is nothing for me to grab onto. It's very slow. To me, I equate it to, this is probably what it sounded like when you listen to Nirvana. You're like, what is this crap? When I listen to this, I would like to stick something sharp and hot in my ears.
Yes.
I feel like I'm at a over 70 VFW dance when I listen to it. And I'll just leave it at that. I think I've said enough.
So if he was captured, say he's in a battle and he's captured, the torture that they would use for him that would be the most effective would be this album.
Yeah, and it's funny.
It's up there.
It's funny you should say that. A second ago, when we were talking, we were kind of hinting at that. I was like, well, if that's when you said why didn't I like Loretta Lynn, I said it was the negative connotations to it. If you were in, I was almost ready to say, if you were in a situation where you were tortured and that was the music in the background, you're never going to like it. So it's funny you should bring it around. So may I say my piece?
Please.
I thought you said your piece.
No, I'm going to say my piece now.
All right.
I second Andrew's emotion.
When I picked this album, I just had a feeling. I had a sneaky suspicion that that's the way it was going to be.
Okay, but now, if I'm able to put a period on it, okay, I appreciate what the man did. I love him.
I'll second that as well. It's just not my bag.
I agree.
As Austin Powers would say, it's not my bag.
That's right. That's right. So my favorite scene is when he's got that CD on. Well, not one. He's making all those noises. There's so many good lines in that.
He puts the record needle on the CD because he doesn't know what his CD
Have you
is.
seen those movies?
I have not.
my favorite scene in all of them though is when he's hiding behind the
fountain and he's peeing.
He's peeing. Cause you gotta see it because they keep looking at it on the video because he's hiding behind it, so he can't be seen on the video. And you just see the screen, and he's having to
And
keep,
then it goes,
and it goes there, and then they look, and he has to keep it going. It's so funny. So anyway, but I appreciate what Buck Owens has accomplished, and I really did enjoy him as a young boy watching him on Hee Haw, and if I'm to be completely honest, sitting around the TV watching them do what they did on Hee Haw, I wanted to play guitar. So whether directly or indirectly, he influenced me as a musician.
That's funny. You should say that because that show is why I started playing banjo.
So if I can make an aside before we wrap all this
Sure.
up. Some years ago.
Here we go, people.
So
Long story short.
So the church that we were going to put on a seniors night, and it was Hee Haw themed. Right?
See, I told you, at the VFW, right?
No, this turned out, this was like a full-on production. It was
cool.
awesome, okay? And you were Grandpa Jones, right?
Yep.
He dressed up like Grandpa Jones, and my wife at the time, we weren't together at the time,
That's
was
right.
Patsy Cline, wasn't she? Was she Patsy Cline?
Yes.
Yes. So, and she sang some numbers, and then, so they asked me and Jean to do a skit, right? And it was the one where they're talking
The barbershop.
Rindercella and her slippers.
Yes.
Right? So they give me this fake mustache, and I was like, man, I was afraid this was going to be lame. I was so afraid it was going to be lame. And it turned out everything about this production, it was awesome, right? So, but I didn't know that when it got started. So I'm sitting over there, and I had that mustache. And I said, this really needs to be funny. So I was trying to make the mustache, half the mustache so it would flap off, right? Because I thought, okay, the scene could have been so bad, right? So already the crowd is into it, and by the time I got up there, I was maybe halfway through it. I was, me and Gene were the middle guy. So Gene is sitting there, and I'm cutting his hair, and I'm telling this story. And then my mustache starts flying off, right? And it won't stay on. And then Gene did a few ad-libs that were funny. But it was so fun. Because everybody, you can tell everybody, especially you and your wife, were really channeling the characters. It was fun.
It was a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish we'd do it again. I wish Todd would do something like that again.
And it was based on that show.
Yeah.
So
Surprise! I mean, really, dude,
Yeah.
it was that was way cool. And we even had, that was the night we even had an opera singer.
yeah, and that's the first night we heard BJ sing.
Yes.
He knocked our socks
So
off.
this dude, we all see this guy. He's like 9 feet tall, right? Big old bear of a guy, and he gets up there and he starts singing, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then all of us musicians go, "Hey, will you come sing with us? Hey, will you come sing with us?"
Yeah,
So all right, so that's
pretty
my
cool.
side. All right, so
Okay, Buck Owens and his Buckaroos.
all right,
You ready for the score?
yes,
It's fairly complicated this time.
not for me.
I don't
And
even believe it.
it's a
I
zero.
mean, it's been so simple up to this point.
So, so there were 14 songs, okay?
Yes.
That ends up to about, I think, 12 rainbows, right? If my math is correct.
No.
Wait.
So each song had a total possible points of 85. Well, possible points for the whole album was 1190. I had to take away 16 points. This Old Heart, there toward the end of the album, that
Yes.
some Bob, I don't know who Bob was.
Right, and it was like a live show.
Yeah, had to shorten the song to a point that it lost 16 points. Damn. Okay, Laredo,
Yeah.
they got Bigfoot to sing that low
Yeah.
part.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody that was observing the dead guy
Yeah.
wrapped up in white linen. Well, then later,
Nights
He
in
changed-
I
West
literally was thinking that.
he's changed. He's from the first person to the third person,
Yeah.
and that confused me. So they lost 42 points for that. There was another one. I didn't take off anything for it because I kind of get the guy's point. The one where it says, I
did I
penalized him for the ill treatment of his wife. But then he's going to lock the windows and bar the door. She ain't never going to leave no more.
Well, I mean, back in the day, you could keep your women at home. Now you can't anymore. Heather's going to punch me in the face when she hears that I said that. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so and also fall out of love. He's asking her to lie. You know, communication is the key in a relationship.
Is it?
And he's asking her, if you fall out of love with me, don't let it show.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't like that. Yeah,
That's love advice from Bob.
Seriously, when he was saying if you're good...
He's had 7 wives and 8 mistresses.
I can't even top that. That's a good one. But yeah, I didn't like that too. If you're not in love with me, don't tell me. If you're cheating on me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
No, man.
No.
So they see?
Yeah, dirty right.
So they lost 22 points for that one.
I agree.
So that brings their score down to 11-10. They lost another 68 points for not enough bass guitar.
That's now that you say it, I don't recall any bass.
Maybe that's why I didn't like it.
I think it was made for AM radio. I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
So they're down to 1032 out of a possible 1190.
That's still pretty
But I
good.
added back 12 points because they had no bad words anywhere.
There you go. You're right. Well, hang on.
Plus 2 added to that 12 equals 1046. And so that's what they get, 1046 out of 1190.
Okay, well.
And that's
perfect.
That's above average.
Yeah.
For honky tonk music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll end my thoughts on this.
Are we doing questions?
Yes.
Yes. I have a question.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and ask a question on this too.
Perfect.
So I used to be heavily into the whole science and engineering behind the Apollo program. This is back when I believed that we actually went to the moon, because we didn't go. So, but there was a scene where I want to say it's Apollo 13. I can't remember which one of those Apollos that circled the moon. They played a Buck Owens song as they went around the moon. As I was listening to this, I was thinking maybe they were trying to throw that album and leave it on the dark side of the moon.
Maybe.
Oh.
So, if my question is, guys, I think I know how you're going to answer, and I think I know how you're going to answer. If you were in an Apollo capsule and you were going around the dark side of the moon, would you throw this onto the moon and leave it?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I think I would too. Bob, you?
Well, there may be some benefit to that for whoever's going to live there at some point. It'd be like a time capsule.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
think
no. I'd keep it and turn it up in the
Bob's such a rebel.
in the Apollo.
That was basically him giving me and you the middle finger right now.
Houston to Apollo. Shut that
That's literally too, right? When Bob starts playing it, that's when you be going, Houston, we got a problem. We got a big freaking problem.
We lost radio contact.
Bob has died. Totally natural causes.
So what's your question?
Could this episode possibly have been any longer?
No.
No? Yes, I can. Let me recap. When my dad was listening to that album, and I liked it more or less because he liked it, but because it was music and it sounded cool coming out of the speakers. So I got accustomed to that, and the whole album. I remember that album. Yeah. I remember what I was reading in a book at that time, because that was a point in our lives changed somewhat.
I feel that if people will just listen to this episode, it's going to be one of the better ones.
I think it's funny because we berated the hell out of Bob.
We're literally being mean to this wonderful man.
No.
He's
like, and he's pouring his heart out about his dad, and we're just beating the crap out of him.
We're being dudes right now. He put so much heart and soul into this, and we're just beating the crap out of it. Bob,
it's okay, boys.
I want you to know.
We do it out of love.
I hold it against you.
I
okay?
do love you, man. And you know I do.
Yeah, I love you too.
So my brother, I got to eat lunch with my brother on my birthday.
Did you knock his tooth out again?
So my brother is a homicide detective here in town, and I had lunch with him the other day. Me and my son had lunch with him and a couple other detectives. And they were being so mean to each other, these detectives were. But the funniest story my brother has ever told me is that one day they all went out to eat, and they all take a car, right? And they were being so mean to each other that one of them got up and walked all the way across town back to the police department to get his car. They were being so mean to him, it pissed him off. So, Bob, we will never be that mean to you.
Well, my car's right outside.
I was going to say, luckily you're right here. You just have to go upstairs. All right.
That's all right.
It?
I've got one more question.
And now, the rest of the story.
If there was a Taylor Swift apocalypse,
Yes.
would this one... Would this album be one you would choose over the Swiftie?
That is a great everything. Taylor Swift Apocalypse. I can't even go. All right, so here's what I would do. I would take this album. I would buy as many albums as I could, and I would do a Shaun of the Dead. And I would use the album
to kill
and I would
the zombies.
throw it at the zombies. If you've never seen that movie, they take records and they're throwing them at the zombies to kill them. So yes, I would use it. So
that's a new way to get through that apocalypse and use the album.
There you go.
That's
I wouldn't play the music.
That's pretty creative.
Yeah. But I know that's not your bag either, but that movie is
it's
brilliant.
hilarious.
It's brilliant. They're throwing.
And then they name an album like, no, not that
yeah,
one.
he said, no, yeah. He said that one there. So they're protecting the good albums, but they're using the crappy albums and throwing it at the zombies.
Edit.
Unicorn.
All right, how about you? What do you think?
I would second that motion.
Yeah.
I would use it to destroy zombies.
Yes.
Oh, man. See.
Wow, this episode literally had everything.
Yep.
We even went to zombie land on this.
All right. Well, I'm just.
Are you exhausted?
I'm
I
exhausted.
am.
I am.
I literally think this was a great episode, though. It's going to be fun.
Shut her down,
All right.
boys.
We're going to shut this ship down. I said ship.
Ship. Edit. Radio, edit.
Check it out for yourself. Buck Owens. I've got Tiger by the tail. Make your own decision.
That's right.
You've heard ours. You've had your history lesson for the day. Remember, stay uncool. Like what you like. Subscribe, please.
5 stars.
5 stars. Deuces.